The morning sun crawled slowly across the dry plains, painting the horizon in shades of gold and red. The wind whispered through the tall grass, carrying the scent of dust, sage, and old memories. Jacob Ryder tightened the leather strap of his saddle, his hands rough and sunburned from years of hard work. His horse Boone let out a tired snort, as if echoing the man's weariness. Life on the frontier wasn't kind. It demanded everything and offered little in return. But Jacob had long stopped expecting kindness. As he rode back toward his small barn, something caught his eye near the stream, a small figure, half hidden by the reeds. He slowed Boone to a halt, squinting into the glare. At first he thought it was an animal, but then it moved, staggered, and collapsed by the water's edge. Jacob's heart tightened. It was a child, a native boy, thin as a reed, wrapped in torn deer hide. His skin was gray with dust, lips cracked and bleeding. Jacob climbed down from his horse, moving slowly so as not to scare the boy. "Hey there, kid," he said softly. "You need some water?" The boy's eyes flickered open, dark, frightened, but desperate. Jacob knelt by the stream, filled his canteen, and held it out. The child drank greedily, water spilling down his chin. When he finished, Jacob noticed the tremor in his hands, the hollow look of hunger. "Easy now," Jacob said gently. "You'll make yourself sick." He helped the boy to his feet and guided him back to the barn. Inside, the air smelled of hay and horse sweat. Jacob laid him on an old blanket, fetched a piece of bread and jerky, and watched as the child ate with the hunger of someone who hadn't seen food in days. After a while, Jacob asked, "Where's your family?" The boy looked up, eyes glistening. "Gone," he whispered. "Soldiers burned our camp. I run." Jacob felt something twist in his chest. He'd seen soldiers do terrible things in the name of progress. "You got a name, son?" "Tama," the boy said softly. Jacob nodded. "I'm Jacob. You're safe here, Tama. Rest." That night, Jacob made a small fire inside the barn. The boy slept on his cot, and Jacob sat beside the flames, staring into the flickering light. For the first time in years, he felt a strange kind of peace, a reminder that kindness didn't always need a reason. When dawn came, Tama was still asleep. Jacob stepped outside to fetch water and froze. Across the valley, on the distant ridge, dark shapes moved against the rising sun. He blinked. Dozens of figures on horseback. No, hundreds. Dust rolled like a storm cloud behind them. Within minutes, the ground trembled under the thunder of hooves. Jacob's hand hovered near his holster. 200 native warriors rode into the valley, their faces painted, bows and spears glinting in the sunlight. At their head rode a tall man wearing a white feathered headdress. The riders stopped in perfect formation, silent and still. The leader dismounted and walked toward Jacob, his gaze sharp and unreadable. Then the barn door creaked open. Tama stumbled out, rubbing his eyes. When he saw the warriors, he froze. "Tama!" The leader's deep voice boomed. The boy's face lit up and he ran forward. The man caught him in his arms, holding him tight. Jacob stood speechless as the man looked up at him. "You saved my son," he said in a voice like thunder. "You gave him water when the world turned him away." Jacob tipped his hat. He was just a boy. Anyone would have done the same. The chief shook his head. "No, many would not. I am Chief Wankin of the Hawk clan. My people do not forget kindness." He turned to his warriors and raised a hand. Several dismounted, carrying bundles wrapped in hide. They laid them before Jacob, blankets, necklaces, a bow carved with bone and feathers. Jacob shook his head. "I can't take these. I didn't do it for reward." The chief's gaze hardened. "This is not payment. It is honor. To refuse is to insult my people." Jacob paused, then nodded respectfully. "Then I thank you." Wankin looked at him long and hard. "You wear the colors of the soldiers who burned our homes, but your heart is not theirs. Perhaps the spirit sent you to us for a reason." Jacob looked down, guilt heavy on his shoulders. "Maybe they did," he said quietly. The warriors set up camp on the edge of his land. For the first time in years, Jacob's ranch was peaceful. The coyotes stayed away. The air itself felt calmer. As night fell, the tribe lit great fires and sang songs that seemed to rise into the stars. The beat of their drums echoed across the valley, deep, steady, ancient. Chief Wankin approached Jacob. "Come," he said. "See who we are, not what the world says." Jacob followed him into the circle of firelight. Women and elders sat together, their faces glowing in the warm light. The warriors danced, their shadows leaping against the flames, each movement telling a story of loss, of courage, of survival. Jacob watched. his heart swelling with something he hadn't felt in years. Belonging. Tama tugged at his sleeve. "You dance too," he said with a grin. Jacob chuckled. "I don't reckon I'd fit in." But the boy just laughed and pulled harder. Soon, Jacob found himself clapping along to the rhythm, his boots tapping the dirt. The tribe welcomed him with smiles and laughter. For a few hours there were no walls between them, no cowboy and no warrior. Only people sharing the same fire, the same sky. When the music slowed, Chief Wankin handed Jacob a small carved hawk made of wood. "Keep this in your barn," he said. "It carries our blessing. As long as it stays there, your land will know peace." Jacob turned the carving over in his hands, its surface smooth and warm from the firelight. "I'll guard it with my life," he said sincerely. The chief nodded. "You have friends now, Jacob Ryder, remember that." At dawn, the tribe prepared to leave. The valley echoed with the soft sound of hooves and the creak of leather saddles. Tama lingered, behind, looking up at Jacob. "I come back?" he asked hopefully. Jacob smiled. "You'll always have a place here, son." The boy grinned and rode off with his father, vanishing into the mist that curled around the hills. When the last rider disappeared, Jacob stood alone beside his barn. The morning was quiet again, but it wasn't the same kind of quiet as before. This one was alive, full of meaning. Later that evening, Jacob found several bundles stacked neatly near his door. Dried meat, corn, and a fresh deer hide. Gifts left behind by the tribe. He smiled, tipping his hat toward the hills. "Thank you," he whispered to the wind. From that day forward, Jacob's life changed. He was still a cowboy, still a man of the land. But now he carried something greater, a sense of purpose. Whenever travelers passed through, hungry or lost, Jacob made sure they left fed, watered, and rested. Word spread of the cowboy blessed by warriors, the man whose barn no bandit dared approach, whose land no drought touched for long. Years rolled by, the frontier changed, and the world moved on. But Jacob never forgot. The carved hawk still hung in his barn, watching over his home. Some nights, as he sat by the fire, he thought he heard distant drums carried by the wind, and he'd smile softly. "Guess I did all right after all," he'd say to Boone, his old horse, and to the memory of a little boy named Tama who once stumbled out of the desert and changed his life forever. And somewhere beyond the hills, in the quiet heart of the plains, the spirits of 200 warriors rode beneath the stars, watching over the cowboy who had once offered water to a starving child. If this story touched your heart, remember, kindness needs no audience, no reward. One small act can echo across generations. Subscribe to our channel for more powerful cowboy stories of courage, redemption, and the unbreakable spirit of humanity. Tap the bell icon so you never miss a new tale that reminds us. In a world full of dust and darkness, a single act of goodness still shines the brightest.